Yes.
The one you handed me out is correct.
That is the variance information. So you have the packet for the subdivision, and that's the variance.
Okay. So why did it deny?
It's not denied. It was the wrong findings of fact that you got in the
The
email.
wrong.
The wrong findings were on the server, so the wrong findings were sent out. The correct findings should be there.
And you'll note they'll say approved.
Okay. Good. All right. Jeff,
Yeah.
will you follow?
Let's do this during the meeting.
Okay.
I'd like to call the September Noble County Planning Commission meeting to order.
Are we streaming?
I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Hang on, I'm making sure we're streaming. Are we streaming?
I'll check it. Anita Hess. Jeff Cunningham.
Here.
Glenn Lemon.
Here.
Sarah Reagan. Ann Klein. Tom Griffiths.
Here.
Patty Gatman. Mary Weissong. Randy Sexton.
Here. With that, we have 8 out of 9 members present, and we have a quorum for this meeting this evening. We will be working down through the agenda, starting with the consideration of the minutes. You should have in your packet the August 20th minutes. These, hopefully you've reviewed those. If you have any corrections or changes, I do know one on page 7 of 7, in the council second line is not.
That was corrected
Okay.
in your most recent.
That was great.
It was missing T. It's right here.
If we don't have any corrections, I would ask for a motion to approve the August 20th minutes so they can be moved to our final record.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for August 20th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business?
I think we're gonna look at the rules
Okay.
from the planning commission. Flip the screen here real quick. Those are just easier to read out in your packet. I color coded them in one of the copies, they didn't copy color coded. So when you get to that application, it'll be much easier for you.
So we looked at the minutes or the rules for plan commission here. Last meeting, there was a few amendments, typos. I think we cleaned a couple of those up on page 1 and Article 2.4. The main correction or the main addition, come on, is going to be on page 10 and 11 under the commitments. Do they have a red one? Yes. 10 and 11. So 10 only has the word plan commission at the bottom of the page, and then most of it's on 11. 4.6.
If I may ask, that gave us an avenue to do.
Well, recently we've had a lot of applicants that have come in and said, oh, we'll add these conditions onto a rezoning or something along that line. And in some cases in the future, that may be something that an individual may want to come and have that relieved. In some cases, you can add conditions with a term limit. So if we don't do that, this actually gives an opportunity for someone to come back and say,
And the statute's not well written for modifications. It basically says in accordance with the Plan Commission rules. So I think you can make the argument without Plan Commission rules, you can't do a modification. So it's sort of like getting ready for the future if it were to come up again.
so in theory, if someone had a condition added to a rezoning, that they could only build one accessory structure. You could never have another one. And for whatever reason, they have a valid reason to have a second one. There was no term limits on that condition. They could come back and petition through the path of a rezoning to have that lifted. It still gets approved through the commissioners.
Any questions or comments? Does anybody need more time to study before we have a motion to approve the changes? Having heard none, do I have a motion to approve the edification of the Noble County Planning Commission rules dated September 17th, 2025?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those the same, motion carries.
Can we have that signed? Yeah, every board member will sign that document in your orange file.
Is there any other unfinished business?
No.
We will proceed with moving down through the new business of the evening. The way this will work, the petitioner will be called to the table after the legal is requested and been presented, and should state their name and address. One person may speak at a time. All conversations shall be directed to the board. No audience chatter. Once the staff has given their report, the petitioner will be given 20 minutes to present their case. Reminder, the petition should stick to the findings of fact. Any remonstrance will have a total of 20 minutes. As opposition shall stick to the facts, all speakers must come to the table and state their name and address. After that, the petitioner will be allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal. Questions by the board will not go against the time allotted on either the petitioner or the remonstrance. With that, I will start down through. First item, the first two items I'm going to read together because they go together. I believe the petitioner probably will be addressing them somewhat at the same time. The first one is a rezoning number 603, Lucas Barkman. In accordance with the Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Articles 9.22, requests a rezoning of 5.72 plus or minus acres from A1 production agriculture to RE rural estates to allow for major subdivision number 1302. The property is located in section 17 of Elkhart Township, quadrant 300, parcel 2. County location is south of 9211 North, 450 West, Ligonier, Indiana. Final consideration will be by the Noble County Commissioners on September 22nd, that'll be next Monday, at 10 a.m. in this building on the second floor in the Commissioner's room. Along with that, we will have Major Subdivision 1302, again, Lucas Barkman, in accordance with the Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Articles 9.16 and 9.17. To request a one-lot major subdivision of 5.72 plus or minus acres to be known as Monroe Barkman Jr. Major Subdivision, leaving a remainder of 27.86 acres plus or minus acres. To include waivers from the UDO Article 9.16, capital D, point 2, parentheses B as in boy, and 3. Also C, D, E, F, G, and H, and the provisions for pedestrian, network and Article 7.26 for street lighting. Property is located in section 17 of Elkhart Township, quadrant 300, parcel 002, common location south of 9211 north, 450 west, Ligonier, Indiana. I will call on the planning director to give an overview of the staff report.
Kind of also use the images up above. We were out on site on September 8th. There was a sign out. There was no flag, so we're assuming with the sign we're at the right location. Based on the site, the ditch is, I'm believing, the outline of what this parcel is going to be. That natural separation is visually kind of there anyway. There were some questions with the submitted waivers, and I'll go over those quickly before we get done. There's some other images of the property. I believe it's probably the fence line. It's been measured by to the far south of this parcel. There's a small Amish school and then a residential family. If you see the two structures, to the north is a family and then to the south is a school. Far as tech review went, those are your comments from tech review. The legal description for the zoning had no issues, and it appears that no one else had a comment based on that. The rezoning makes sense in this jurisdiction with the size of the smaller lots that are somewhat around. This area is going to probably have a few more parcels develop over time. You can see that there's other lots that are already there. Most of them are around 10 acres, but there are some smaller parcels in that general area. The separation from that, what is it, the Molly ditch, makes it a natural barrier anyway. Staff had no problems with that. In fact, they both support growth while maintaining the integrity of the nearby agricultural area. The only question that staff will have members focus on is probably some of the submitted waivers and make sure that those are all addressed appropriately. The one question I had is, I think the plat appears to have wanted a request for primary and secondary approval to be done tonight. That is not on the application, so you'll have to decide how you want to handle that. It does appear that there's a little bit of floodplain around the ditch. I wasn't sure. It didn't look like that was located on the plat. And then there was a address label missing for County Road 450. Outside of that, staff had no problem. Do you want me to go through the other submitted cards?
Please.
There was a typo for the Barkman property. I think maybe the wrong tech review might have been on that file. So there was a directional change from the county GIS department. I'm pretty sure Scott's already received that. And then the 450 was also noted by the highway department that road was not listed. Lucas Bartman was the only one that sent in something for the subdivision that had no comment. And then regarding the rezoning, Lucas Barkman as well. And as far as GIS, NDOT, Highway Department, County Surveyor, Building Department, Health Department, Auditor, and Plan Commission, they were all fine with that.
Okay, thank you. You provide information at your position.
Good evening, Scott Ziegler with Hand of the File Survey representing Barkman's address is 5678 West 250 South Albion. So as was mentioned, the first item of business would be rezoning. So we need the rezoning because as it stands, this parcel of land had, I believe, an allowable sell-off to the north and then a minor subdivision for the school to the south. Even though now the ordinance allows 2 minor subdivisions, apparently this one doesn't have that because the sell-off to the school was prior to the change. So understand that. But in any case, that's why we're here. We don't get the benefit of the second minor, so we have to do a major subdivision on this with the rezoning. So the rezoning is necessary for the division of this 5-acre parcel. As was mentioned, the school is just under 3 acres to the south. It joins us on the south. The ditch will be the common line, the open ditch. And then Lucas Barkman's 3.88 acre cutout would be to the north, so joining up on either side would actually be two parcels that are smaller than this in size, and then you can see on the map across the road to the south, there's a couple of small parcels there. I think there's maybe only one or two houses there, I can't remember, down to the south. We're pretty much in the middle of larger agricultural farmland, but to the south and west, there are parcels that are developing. Those are probably 10 acres for the most part in there. But, anyways, the parcel is bounded by an open regulated drain on two sides, road on the third side, and then an existing parcel line on the north. So it really lends itself, and really kind of is treated as its own parcel from that standpoint. The remainder of the parcel will have road frontage on 900. But as far as the findings, again, I think this is consistent with the rezone to RE, and it conforms with the neighborhood because it flips on either side of this right there. And I think it protects everybody as well, to allow us to divide. We didn't have any intention of dividing any further than that. So there's a nice building side. When you're out there, you kind of tell that it's kind of in the middle of that site. There's a knoll or a small hill there, 20 high enough for a nice building site there. I imagine that this will be sold to Amish, that would probably be a little homestead there with some pasture and maybe some big land. So again, I believe we meet all the findings and it meets the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan to have this type of division, creates more housing as well, and it's needed. With regard to the subdivision plat, again, I believe it meets all the dimensional standards of the plat that is required there. As mentioned, we will have the label on the road. If you look at the regulatory FEMA floodplain, there is it's zone X in there. So I think the confusion might be there's a best available DNR floodplain that may show up in there, but it's not regulatory. So we typically do not show those DNR best available floodplains because those change on a daily basis. So I guess if we have to put them on there, we can. But according to what I'm seeing, it's all zone X in the floodplain. So again, not floodplain. I guess zone X on the map,
Yeah,
not floodplain.
I think it was floodplain A, maybe.
Well, that would be best available DNR.
Yeah.
But that, again,
I just
that's
called it
not
out.
regulatory. That's a suggested from DNR. So, and I think anything is probably going to fall within the ditch right away. So I didn't believe it's out of any buildable area if there is that. Okay.
And that would have been where it was at.
Again, we can add it. I don't like to add it because DNR changes the best available all the time. So now we got a plat that's on record, and floodplain the mayor might not even be anywhere near being correct. So, and,
There is an image on your maps, by the way.
that shows the best available.
I'll give it to you. Oh, you have it. There.
Yeah, and again, it appears it's pretty much within that legal drain right away. But again, if you want it shown, that's fine. But I think the ordinance does say floodplain, which I believe is intended to be the regulatory floodplain, not the DNR best available. So you tell me on that. And as far as waivers, I guess we've asked for the standard waivers we've asked before. I think the ones that were in question would be a waiver for open space standards. Again, I'm not even sure why we're talking about open space standards for a one-lot subdivision plat. That's really intended for multiple lots. So I don't even think that should even be on the table for discussion. But I guess if we have to ask for a waiver of open space, seems like every time we come in and ask for waivers, there's more waivers we have to ask for. So somebody thinks there's something new here. Restrictive covenant waiver, I thought restrictive covenants were not required, so I don't know why we have to ask for a waiver of something that's not required. And again, why would we even have restricted covenants for a one-lot subdivision? Again, it doesn't really make much sense there. It's to protect the other lots in the subdivision. And again, why do we need association standards or even a homeowners association for a one-lot subdivision plat? So again, if you want us to ask for a waiver, we'll ask for a waiver on those. But again, it didn't seem to be necessary for a one-lot plat. So again, I believe when we meet all the requirements of the subdivision as well. So all the rest in that case.
You were intending for primary and secondary pools, so I would maybe make that request.
Okay, we would formally request that primary and secondary plat approval, and that is all subject to the rezoning. Thank you.
Having seen nobody else in the audience for this, obviously we don't have any remonstrance. And I'm assuming that we don't have anything further, so I'll open it up to any questions the board members have concerning the rezoning 603 and major subdivision 1302.
That was less of a question, more of just a response to when you said, why are we doing a waiver for a one lot subdivision lot? It's because it's in the rules. So, whether we like it or not, it's in the rules. So we need to ask for it. That's, I guess, my only comment.
I would agree with that.
I have a couple questions. Scott, did you say there's a potential buyer for this property?
We want to take it to auction, so we wanted to go through this process here to get the rezoning approved and the plat approved before we go to auction. Just for full disclosure, we'll probably include a 10-acre chunk immediately adjoining the school, and then leave a 150-foot strip, and then the remainder of that 20-some will be.
So you're talking about adding a chunk to the west of the school
Well,
on 900?
There'd be through an administrative subdivision, which we should be able to do that with no problem there. So that was the plan there. We would get this, we wanted to have this approved before we went to auction, but the plan is to go to auction with probably a 3-track auction, this being track 1 or one of the tracks, and then a 10-acre track and a 14-acre, whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay, how are they getting to this track west of the ditch now? Are they crossing this? There's gotta be either a culvert or.
There is a culvert there toward the very northeast corner of this parcel, that they'll come in. So Lucas owns, so the owner of this owns the house to the north, and his dad and mom own it jointly. So physically, they're coming in because, again, Monroe lives to the north, so he's gonna come in, Lucas's driveway at the northeast corner of the parcel, go in the gate there, then go back through the field and cross the ditch culvert there and get to the western side. They do own clear down to 900, but it's all fenced. So again, they're not gonna come down to 900 to access it with horses, they're just gonna come in the other way.
Okay. It's got a little hills in there, and I was just curious if they could get a driveway in, if they're gonna sell this in the future to somebody else, if they could get a driveway in. That's what I was in a roundabout way getting at, I guess.
On 900.
On 900, yeah.
I was out there today and actually staked it, and where we set the pin, so the back piece will have the west 150 feet, to have the 150 feet of road frontage, and you can see, you can see over half a mile to the east, and you can see almost down to 600 west, the other direction, so you got, it's right on top of the hill there where the driveway is. Good sight distance there.
I guess, Scott, I would have to look at the survey again, but, Google Maps shows where the culvert is, where it's crossed. Is it actually square? Is the survey gonna take out that little chunk for them to get over? In the northwest corner.
So in the northwest corner of the plat, the ditch that would be Barkman's, Lucas's 3.88, his west line would be the center of the ditch. So his southwest corner is in the center of the ditch. So we held that southwest corner, and then we went down to the corner of the school. So technically, this lot has a little tiny sliver on the south and west side of the ditch right down there by the school, but it's virtually unusable ground there. So it's almost on the ditch bank itself, a little close there. The culvert, the physical culvert that's there, though, that would be on this parcel of land. It's probably 20 feet south of Lucas's southwest corner.
Right, and that's what I.
By the time of the auction, you'll say you no longer have, you can go on the west side.
Well, maybe not, I don't know. I mean, some guy could buy everything. I mean, it's possible that the guy that buys this lot could buy the
Right,
piece of the
but
back.
our Barkmans won't have any. they will have sold it all off.
Yeah, I mean, Monroe's intent is he's selling all the land he's doing to the
Oh.
location, so he would have no need for that.
He's actually already sold his house.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have no need for that culvert.
I mean, he wouldn't, but there may be a buyer of the lot may want to buy the piece on the other side, and then he could access across that culvert, or he could access off of the road.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think there's any plans of removing the culvert necessarily. It just may not be needed if there's different owners on either side of the fence.
That's for them to sort out.
Any other questions?
The floodplain being exempt from it, being it's got part of the floodplain on there. Can we actually exempt him from that?
He can, since it's not regulatory.
Okay.
I think the ordinance just says floodplain, so I think that is regulatory floodplain, not the best available DNR floodplain.
And it always has been 75 foot right away with regulated drains.
Right.
It's gonna kind of get intersected.
The drain is noted on the plat too.
And just
Is it?
see-
Is it?
Yeah, it is, at least on this one.
Yeah.
And just seeing on the application, it says it does not lie within the floodplain on the very first page.
Well, it doesn't, because it's, when we talk floodplain, we're generally talking regulatory floodplain, which is DNR, so it's zone X, which is not floodplain. Zone A would be, so it's, the FEMA flood hazard map identifies it as X, which is not floodplain. X is not in the floodplain.
So when you're ready, I would ask for a motion for the rezoning. That would need to be in the sense of either a favorable, an unfavorable, or no recommendation at all to the commissioner.
Make the
And after
motion,
that, we'll do the finding of facts.
make the motion to send a favorable rezoning to the commissioners.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the rezoning from A1 to RE. And we proceed with the findings.
Zoning map amendment certification for Lewis Barkman, care of Hand of the Plow for rezoning number 603. The location is south of 9211 North 450 West in Ligonier. Current zoning district is A1 and the proposed zoning district is RE. The Noble County Plan Commission, having conducted a public hearing for the petition as described above, considering all the following factors, does now certify the following amendment to the zoning map for the Noble County. The motion is for a favorable recommendation based on reasonable regard of each of the findings. Number 1, the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Tom Griffiths,
Favorable.
you're going to agree or disagree? Or,
Agreed.
okay, thank you. Patty Gatman? Glenn Lemon?
Agreed.
Jeff Cunningham?
Agreed.
Ann Klein? Dr. Sarah? Randy Sexton?
Agreed.
The current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district. Ann Klein? Dr. Sarah? Jeff Cunningham?
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths?
Agreed.
Patty Gatman? Mary Weissong? Glenn Lemon?
Agreed.
Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
The most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. Mary Weissong? Glenn Lemon?
Agreed.
Jeff Cunningham?
Agreed.
Ann Klein? Tom Griffiths?
Agreed.
Patty Gatman? Dr. Sarah? Randy Sexton?
Agreed.
The conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. Dr. Sarah? Patty Gatman? Jeff Cunningham?
Agreed.
Ann Klein? Glenn Lemon?
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths?
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
Responsible Development and Growth, Ann Klein. Jeff Cunningham,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Dr. Sarah, Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Patty Gatman, and Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
Based on the findings, the board does offer a favorable recommendation.
And we heard, Monday morning upstairs at 10 o'clock. Moving on to Major Subdivision 1302, on the same parcel. I would ask for a motion as to what we want to do with that, and in that motion, we need to consider any conditions that you want to put on it.
I also request the primary, secondary that we talked about.
Conditioned on rezone.
I don't see why we can't do the primary and secondary at the same time. Unless somebody proves their own.
Just a waiver it. Approve the waivers, all I'm asking, because there is actually 2 sections in our ordinance that we should be following, and we're basically merging them into one tonight.
Yes.
Some of our conditions.
County Road 400's been addressed on the new plat.
Yeah, and I have that copy with me.
So we're gonna do. Move to approve subdivision 1302. Including the waivers of UDO 9.616 and D2, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And the waiver for primary and secondary.
Any from the staff report you want to approve as well?
Yes, all
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second for that?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve subdivision number 1303 with the included waivers. 1302. 1302, I'm sorry. Looked on the wrong one. For the included waivers and also those brought up in the staff report, and especially conditioning that it will be a primary and secondary plat approval this evening based on the rezoning next Monday morning. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we need you to find it back.
Yes. Major subdivision findings of fact for Lucas Barkman in care of Monroe J. and Rachel Barkman Life Estate with hand of the plow, Scott Ziegler petitioning. Subdivision 1302, physical address is south of 9211 North 450 West in Ligonier. The Noble County Plan Commission, having heard the application for the major subdivision as described and all testimonies from parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed subdivision, now enters the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and Indiana Code. Disapproval of the findings shall specify the provision of the UDO or any applicable Noble County construction standard in which the proposal is non-compliant or in manner in which the project is inconsistent with the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Members shall pay reasonable regard to the findings with a response to agree or disagree. The subdivision of land is consistent with the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Jeff Cunningham. Tom Griffiths.
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon.
Agreed.
Patty Gatman. Mary Wysong. Ann Klein. Dr. Sarah. Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies the development requirements of Article 6, the subdivision types. Glenn Lemon.
Agreed.
Patty Gatman. Ann Klein. Jeff Cunningham. Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Dr. Sarah, and Randy Sexton. The subdivision satisfies the standards of Article 7. Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Ann Klein, Patty Gatman, Jeff Cunningham,
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Some of the waivers on included.
No, we do that.
I think they included the one on the staff report as well as what was submitted. Okay. The subdivision of land satisfies any other applicable provision of the Unified Development Ordinance. Patty Gatman,
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Ann Klein, Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Jeff Cunningham,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
The subdivision of land satisfies the construction requirements of any applicable Noble County construction standard. Jeff Cunningham,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Ann Klein, Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Patty Gatman, and Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
Based on the findings, the board does approve.
Thank you.
Moving on to the third item this evening is minor subdivision number 1303 at L. and Sean S. Wysong in accordance with the Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 9.18, requesting a two-lot minor subdivision of 5 plus or minus acres to be known as the first addition to P and S Wysong minor subdivision, with lot 4 at 2.50 plus or minus acres, and lot 5 as 2.50 plus or minus acres, leaving a remainder of 15.64 plus or minus acres. Property is located in section 33 of Noble Township, quadrant 300, parcel 101, common location 3810 west, 600 south, -57, Columbia City, Indiana. The staff will give their report.
Yeah, so the parcel behind you on the screen with the purple circles, we've done a major subdivision and a rezoning there, I think in 25, earlier this year, maybe March. We did put the sign out. There was not a sign out on the road on the 9th when we were there, so we did have one with the vehicle. We were able to put one out. The plat may help you lay that out a little bit. On that farthest lot, not lot 5, but the one directly east of that, just above, yeah, put your hand up. Sarah and I actually got to watch a young couple put the culvert in themselves. It was actually quite impressive. They were physically digging that ditch themselves. So there's the layout of the property there. I don't think we had any issues with the staff report. I think the plat itself had met the minimum development requirements. In theory, this would have gone to plat committee, but since Scott already had an application on here and the agenda at the time was light, we went ahead and took this one and brought it to you instead. It saved the property on a little bit of time. I can look. There was a comment from GIS about a correction. NDOT had no comments, Highway Department no comments, no comments from anybody. We had a comment, a return card from Samuel Miller, I believe, or Mills, with no comment, and then another one from Teresa Albertison and Peter Albertison. We're surprised that the further division of the Wysong property was not discussed as a possibility at the February 25th meeting when we were in attendance. Let me make sure there isn't anything in the result. No, that's it.
Okay. I believe that you are the surveyor of record, and I believe you have your owners would be seeking if you proceed with bringing us the information for this subdivision.
No, they're here to speak.
We were here, we have questions
Okay.
on this 13.
Okay. Again, Scott Ziegler, Hennepin Plow Surveying, I'm representing Thad and Shauna Weissong. So as was mentioned before, we did have a rezoning and a major subdivision of 3 lots earlier this year. So if you're familiar with the area, it's pretty rolling land out there, not real good for farm ground. And Weissong's being larger farmers, it's hard to get a large piece of equipment around, maneuvering those. So Thad wanted to move over closer to the family farm just north of there a mile. So they wanted to dispose of the property. So we were really hoping that we could sell the house, the pond, and the remaining acreage there, but there is a decent amount of pressure, ironically, in that area. This is the most populated township, or most populated mile square in Noble Township, with Big Lake being there, so we're part of that. As you can see on the map, across the road, there's a number of houses that developed there. You got a church on the corner, and there is a pretty popular school to the south, Northern Heights School, so there is some pressure for home sites, to that, to be able to go to that school. So anyways, we were having a little difficulty selling the piece as a whole, because of the price, and again, there was some decent pressure for some more building sites. The 3 sites that are there, they're all sold now. They sold fairly quickly there, so again, there's definitely some demand for housing in there. So we thought we'd offer this, it's a listing, it's not an auction, it's a listing, buy any and all of these. The 2 sites that are there, I think lend themselves fairly well to a home site there. There's a decent amount of relief on the lots themselves, so it lend itself to a walkout basement, 2.5 acres, you got plenty of room there for septic if need be. It's a walkout basement or a slab, there's good site distance on the road there. So again, I believe it meets all the minimum requirements of the UDO for subdivision. We're allowed to have 2 acre or larger lots in the ag zoning. And one thought we had was to rezone these to RE, but if somebody buys the entire parcel, which would be an option, they could buy everything, they may want to keep it in ag. So at this point, it doesn't seem to be advantageous to rezone to RE, especially, RE, since, that would take away some potential uses in ag. So that was why we didn't rezone or request that to be rezoned initially with all of that. We could have made a 5-lot subdivision there, but again, we were hoping it would stay a larger tract for ag, but I think the price is just too high for somebody. There is a really nice pond there, as you can see on the aerial, and we intentionally kept it all on that one tract of land to make that more valuable there. So. I don't think Steve, I think, had one comment on a typo in the report. We did change that, but I don't think there's anything else. Okay, is there anything else from the session?
Yeah, I guess I got a question.
Next question.
Oh. So lot 1, 2, and 3 was all part of this at one time, correct?
Yes.
Yes, all part of the farm, correct.
And it went through a subdivision process, but this is still a.
They did the major on that one. This is a minor.
This parcel could actually have 2 minor subdivisions because it hasn't had any minor subdivisions on it.
The area shown in white on there was a major subdivision, lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3.
Okay.
And they have been rezoned to RE.
That makes this eligible for a minor.
And we do have, I think the remainder is 320 feet of frontage left for the remaining parcel. So I mean, technically you could do a admin subdivision, and split that, or another minor. I guess you couldn't do an admin, you have to do another minor.
No, it'd have to be it'd have to be a large split admin, because the minor's been used.
No.
Yeah, but we get 2 minors now.
No,
Yeah.
to total.
Oh, total 3.
It's already done.
So
It's the same ending result. You don't have to do the 2 minor lots now. You can do one of the minor lots now and do the second one later. You don't have to do both of them at the same time, which is how it was established in the prior Now you can do one and come back later and do a second one.
Yes, it would still be
But-
eligible for one more minor
one-
subdivision.
No, the ending result is the same. 3
It would-
parcels,
It would end up with 2 lots.
Yes.
Whether you do it 1 and 1, or
2.
1 minor with 2 lots.
The ending
But
result,
you could rezone this. and
Yeah,
do
a
another
major.
Major,
or like he said, an administrative split with that,
which is more
with the
likely.
road front. Would cut that in half.
Anyways, the point where I
Now,
was going with that is, there is a possibility for further divisions, but from a practical standpoint, it probably wouldn't make sense to have any more divisions. There. At worst, I could see, 1 more lot, but it wouldn't be a very appetizing lot. I guess.
So we're still trying to keep the pond in contact with one lot.
Yeah, we definitely
Instead of
want to
trying
have all
Instead of
contiguous.
trying to make them lots bigger.
Yeah, we definitely did not want to deal with the issue of multiple people accessing that one pond there. And there's no need to, there's tons of relief on that, so even these 2.5 acre lots, I didn't measure, there's gotta be 15 feet of relief, on each of these lots. There's plenty of room for drainage, and like, they could easily have a walkout basement, still have plenty of, fall away from the walkout on that. So there's no need for them to be able to, or have to access the pond for any sort of drainage reasons or whatever. And we kept a buffer around the pond, so we had that water quality a little bit too, so we thought that would keep the value there and not complicate issues. Anytime you have multiple people using a private pond, it's just a recipe for.
So I do got another question. Why didn't they just do this along with the other one?
Well, like I said before, we were hoping that we could sell these 2 lots plus all of that as one tract of land. But the market isn't supporting that right now. There's not the demand. In fact, it's just the opposite. There's more demand for smaller tracts of land there. So again, at the time we did the plat, we were hoping we could just divide it 4 ways, and that's how it was gonna sell. And like I say, the other 3 lots sold almost right away. I mean, there was a few issues to sort out, but we had a buyer within weeks of when they were advertised. Or at least the buyer that ended up purchasing them came forward very, very quickly, and now working out details and working out things like that. So again, we believe we have pressure for the smaller lots, and that's what the demand is for. Any other questions? Okay, I think we have folks that want to speak on this subdivision. If you would come forward, give your names.
Lynn Keller, 325 West Elkhart North. We're across from the property, and I had called last week to see if there were any restrictive covenants on the 2 parcels. We'd like to, considerations be made for at least a covenant for no manufactured or mobile homes on the properties. Just as a way to protect property values.
So you're in Woodley County.
Yes. Our tracks on our side of the property, the REZONE subdivision all have restrictive covenants, and this is one of the covenants that is on our side of the street. We would just, like I said, we would appreciate consideration for the addition of that, for that minor subdivision.
Do you have other comments? Questions?
I do have a question. What's your name?
When,
Lynn. Lynn, this is nothing personal against you, but it's a question that I have been thinking about for a long time. I have been watching some planning commission meetings from other counties on YouTube. Yes, I do have a life, but it's very interesting in the fact that you're from Woodley County and nothing against you. You are asking for the covenants from your county to be looked at and considered for Noble County. I also know I was watching where Whitley County was trying to do something and Allen County was forcing their covenants on those individuals in Whitley County. My question is probably more for Everett. Do we pay any attention to another county?
It's instructive, but not, it's persuasive, but not required.
So in Lynn's case, we can just disregard everything she says, but being neighborly, we should pay attention.
We should do it in terms of what we need to do for a subdivision approval, regardless of what other counties are doing. But sometimes it's helpful to know what other counties are doing in order to evaluate. But we don't have a requirement for that type of a restrictive covenant. Manufactured housing under any law can't be prohibited certainly by a public body, because the General Assembly would rather promote the manufactured housing industry than address those market value concerns. Now, you can set standards of a certain type, in other words, roof pitch, those kinds of things, but you can't say the method of manufacturing. You can't require stick built house.
I will say though that single wides are only allowed in a mobile home zoning
Right.
district, except for
So
in the
the
case for
single
a
wides are
variance,
already
which they
taken
would
care
be
of by
notified.
the zoning in this case.
Yeah.
But
Typically, it's roof pitch and also square footage.
yeah, that
Right.
type of thing.
And I knew, again, Lynn, that we was going to do what our county requires of us for this subdivision. My question was more of how much a neighboring county can inflict on another county. In the case of Whitley County and Allen County, there was nobody there to remonstrate from Whitley County. They was all from Allen County, and that poor lady lost.
But in this case,
Because of
are
what?
you in a platted subdivision there? You have a platted lot?
Ours, I'm not sure if we're part of the blue movement. Ours is
Okay.
the older properties, so I don't know if we're within the blue movement. Those were all built
Right.
up after our home was there. But we got the notice, just as everyone else in Noble County. Unfortunately, we're in Whitley, that's where our property lands. But you
I have
asked us to
sympathy
come
for you.
and speak out, so this is that's our only concern, that we've got these pieces of property out by the street here. We would like to formally request a consideration be made. We're not demanding anything, we're just saying, for property values on the street.
No, and
This is our concern. You asked us to voice them, and that's.
And my question was by no means an attack. They was questions I wanted to know about adjoining counties.
So Everett, you're saying we can't put stipulations on these two particular lots that they can't be mobile homes?
Well,
Yeah,
mobile homes would not,
Manufactured housing.
manufactured housing is not mobile homes. Mobile homes wouldn't
Mobile
be
home is a mobile home.
permitted under this zoning that they're asking for.
We can require a certain minimum.
If there's something that otherwise would not be met, I mean, if subdivision meets all the criteria, you have to grant it. It's not discretionary. So when you start adding additional requirements, you generally do that in terms of it has something that would not work, would not lead to an approval, but if you did these things, it might. Because some of the things you consider are things such as, let's say traffic. Those things that we consider. You could do something that it would make sense to have some kind of restriction that would lead to less traffic. No amusement halls. I'm trying to.
Depending on what kind of home goes there, we have a question to answer about property.
Right,
Depending on what kind of
right, and that
home
could.
gets built, it affects my response to
We
that.
do have a
Right.
1,200 square
Noble
foot
County does
minimum.
have a standard for homes.
It is a 1,200
So
square foot.
let's say
minimum.
one of the factors is you consider to be a compelling factor is that the effective value on neighboring properties. then it would be sensible to have some kind of regulation that would have that housing to be consistent. If that's the only thing that's standing between you approving something and not approving it. I don't recall that was one of the criteria. So
in
that's,
other words,
so,
if
but we
the-
do have some rezoning things that talk about the impact on, especially when there's different types of zoning next to each other, the impacts there. You're permitted to do that.
Do you
But-
know what your zoning district is there?
Because it doesn't matter what the zoning is, I mean, we do on the basis, how is that land being used? That's next to it.
It's ag,
It is, thank you.
And
Just
so,
a point of, all of this is ag. From here over to here is Blue Moon Edition. Hotels live right here, and then west of them is another part, so your part is not within the subdivision.
I believe, yes, that's it.
This area over in here, according to Beacon, is Blue Moon, and then from here over to here is Blue Moon, and that is just a meets and bounds parcel.
And everything there is ag as well.
And that's all that, everything on there, according to what they have listed.
So back to manufactured homes, there's some really nice houses that there's prefabs.
that's considered manufactured house.
Yeah, that's still a manufactured house, so
And I mean, they got big mansions that are prefabricated.
You
Yeah.
can't restrict from as,
okay,
no manufactured housing.
unless it's a single one.
And if someone wanted to put a single wide in there, you would be notified. It would be a public hearing because it's not allowed in that zoning district, so they'd have to ask for a variance.
And just, for some reason, I happen to know this from today, a single wide with no bells and whistles is going to run you $95,000 to start. A double wide is right around $250,000 to start. Where's that today?
Yay for affordable housing.
White paper, yeah.
No, while I was watching
That was
zoning.
beautiful, Glenn. Best comment of the morning.
Okay, thank you. Also, I was remiss before, but I'll catch it on this one. John, you were given the task of site visit.
I went out and looked at it, looks like it's really nice work. It's really actually useful, to be honest. The farm is not.
And I'm sure that Mary did too. So we're caught up on that. Moving it back to the petitioner, do you have any comments on anything that was stated by the other party? Do you have anything you wish to offer, or how do you want to see the ordinance forward?
So point of reference, the major subdivision that Weissman's already did, the 3 lot, that has no restrictive covenants on those. I talked about that with Thad and Shauna and the realtor, if they wanted anything. They mulled around a few, and basically the thought was that would have the potential of restricting the value of those lots, and with the price they were asking for those, more than likely, if you're gonna pay that much for the land, you're gonna put a nice house there. The 2.5 acre lots, again, there's plenty of room there. If we were looking at, a different zoning that had like lake residential zoning, we had 12,000 square foot lots, then yeah, it could be very crude because it's, substantially smaller lots than the adjoiners. I think most of those lots on the other side of the road are 2 acres or less, so we're the same size as them, a little bit larger, so, I would anticipate that we're gonna have nice homes in there, so. I can pass that on to Weissong, I think they can always add restrictive covenants up to the point where when they sell the land, I think that can always be added to that or these restrictions, so I'll mention that to them if they would like to include anything like that. Again, I don't believe you can make that a condition of the approval. It's, do we meet the dimensional standards and requirements of the ordinance, so I don't believe that you have anything where you can force the restrictive covenants on this. So again, we'll definitely consider that. I'll pass it on to Weissong to see if they want to put something on there.
But again, I would imagine that we're gonna have nice homes out there with the prices that are being paid for lots. Again, double wides, or I wouldn't say double wide, I'd say, manufactured homes that come to the site in two pieces, which don't have a frame underneath them, right, anymore, so it's not technically a double wide, it's a manufactured home that's delivered on a trailer that leaves in two pieces. My daughter just put one up, it's $350,000 for a ranch house on a basement, so they're nice houses by many of these there. So, anyways, I will pass it on to White Songs and see what they want to do. Again, my understanding is, up to the point they sell the lots, that they could always add either deed restrictions, or they could add covenants as well at that point, if they choose to. My guess is they're probably gonna say no, since we didn't own, or they didn't own the other one, but I will definitely pass that on and see what they would like to say. But I guess we would request approval, regardless of that.
And the findings of fact, I mean, you're in your paperwork you're given, but in the ordinance itself, it outlines what has to be approved in your findings of fact.
That's the major, not the minor.
And
The minors are a little different.
And
Scott, does the board have any questions of Scott concerning this or anything else? If you don't, then I would ask for a motion concerning this topic.
Motion to move on the findings of fact for minor subdivision with no amendments.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second to move to the finding of facts from minor subdivision 1303 Weiss on Flat.
Yep. I'll finish with those findings of fact, but the physical address is 3810 West 600 South in Columbia City. Subdivision name is First Addition to T&S Wysong Minor Subdivision. The Noble County Plan Commission, having heard the application for the subdivision as described, and all testimonies from parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed subdivision, does now enter the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and the Indiana Code. Your answer will be to agree or disagree to the following findings. Number one, the subdivision of land is consistent with the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Glenn Lemon.
Agree.
Ann Klein. Dr. Sarah. Jeff Cunningham. Patty Gatman. Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
Mary Wysong. Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies the development requirements of Article 6, which is the subdivision types. Patty Gatman. Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
Glenn Lemon.
Agree.
Jeff Cunningham.
Agree.
Mary Wysong. Ann Klein. Dr. Sarah. Randy Sexton.
Agree.
The subdivision of land satisfies the standards of Article 7, which is the design standards. Ann Klein. Dr. Sarah. Jeff Cunningham.
Agree.
Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
Patty Gatman. Mary Wysong. Glenn Lemon.
Agree.
Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies any other applicable provision of the Unified Development Ordinance. Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
Ann Klein. Dr. Sarah. Patty Gatman. Mary Wysong. Glenn Lemon.
Agree.
Jeff Cunningham.
Agree.
Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies the construction requirements of any applicable Noble County construction standard. Mary Wysong. Jeff Cunningham.
Agree.
Patty Gatman. Ann Klein. Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
Glenn Lemon.
Agree.
Dr. Sarah. And Randy Sexton. Board does approve.
Moving on to our, coming up this evening. Moving on to our last subdivision, minor subdivision 1304, Leanna W. Bontrager Revocable Living Trust, in accordance with Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 9.18, requesting a one-lot minor subdivision of 2.00 plus or minus acres to be known as the Leanna Bontrager minor subdivision, leaving a remainder of 129.89 plus or minus acres. Property is located in section 3 of Elkhart Township, quadrant 300, parcel 002. Common location is 2498 west, 1100 north, Rome City, Indiana. The staff would provide the report.
Yeah, actually Randy and I were out here a couple days ago. I had done a site visit for BZA. There was not a sign out at this one, and I didn't have an opportunity because I didn't have anything with me to put one out. The notification was out for the BZA variance, but it was not out for the subdivision. As you can see, this parcel has absolutely no road front. There is an easement there, which I believe is where the acreage for this new 2-acre parcel is going to go, is right to the left of that easement. Currently, the easement is owned by Lawrence Bontrager, but I also believe the Bontrager to the east also uses that driveway, or it sure looks like it. One of the things I have with my staff report is I just wanted to point out a couple of things. On the subdivision application, we actually had that wrong article number in our request. It should be 9.18. There was a conflicting address. I think Scott can probably clarify that if I'm looking at it wrong. The one question I have is the plat that was submitted shows a 25 east side property line development setback, but what was presented to the BZA has an 85 off of that easement from the center line of the road, which would make sense if that easement were to ever become a private street. That was how that was petitioned to the BZA, so I would hope you consider that. These are the two property addresses that I was kind of questioning, and just making sure that we have those appropriately labeled because they're different. And then as far as tech review, no comment. Highway Department had no issues with the easement to be shared for 2 driveways. I think that was the only comment we actually really had. If you want, I can look at any comment cards that came in. Hook did have a question about the certificate of dedication and acknowledgement. There's a slight difference in how many names are listed within the certificate of dedication and the certificate of acknowledgement in the signature blocks. One name is listed with the middle initial of W, and the other doesn't have that. And then he has the 50-foot ingress egress easement isn't clearly denoted on the survey drawing, and it's shaded with a hatch pattern, but no reference to what the hatch pattern represents in the symbol legend. So no label denoting the easement is provided. Outside of that, there were no other comments. As far as return comment cards, I have Clarence Miller and Verna Miller. We support her project. James Lambright and Laverna Lambright, no comment, and Dean Lambright, no comment.
Thank you. We proceed with providing information.
Again, Scott Ziegler, handle the file survey, representing Dan Bontrager. Again, BZA allowed this parcel in this configuration, so we're using a 50-foot easement to get back there. No road frontage has all been approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. With regard to some of the comments Teresa had there, we did change the name when we put the middle initial in all appropriate locations there on that. And then we did put a leader note on the face of the drawing that shows ingress, egress, easement, 50-foot ingress, egress, easement, in addition to the cross action. The building line is just a mistake on our part. I do have the new plat, but I have this show the 85 like you see up there. So, and, you see the house there, so it clearly fits where she's wanting it over, basically in the garden. If you look at the aerial photograph, it's actually just about where the old house used to sit. There was an old house years and years ago that they sit there. So that 85 feet's fine. There's no big deal with that. So we'll definitely have that on there. That's no problem. So, I think those comments there, those are the ones that, all the addresses, yeah, we did change that as well too. So Leanne is the 2498, and that property on the other side has 2458. So and they do both use that driveway. I honestly don't think the guy to the east has an easement that I could find for him to allow that. But at one point, it used to be family that was going back 20 years or so. Everybody needs to get along, and I think it actually is family now in law. They are still really. I think it meets all the minimum requirements. There, the 2 acres, the back line.
So, and again, those changes that were requested, those comments were requested.
One more. The plat had showed that it was a plat committee, but we brought this here.
Yeah, we did change that on this as well.
Okay.
I think that was confusion on the signs, we did have it on our list of signs to put out because it was filed as a plat committee, not a planning commission. So,
Can you get that first one I posted today with a stake in the ground and use it?
it was good. I went to the realtor signs, so.
But if you want that one, it's got a stake on it. It's got lots of staples on it. So if they'll give it to you. Oh no, that was not your first one. It was the one that we had at 6. Wrong person. Oops.
Moving on. Yeah, you had the site visit for this.
Yeah, I did. I drive this road quite often. I never seen a purple sign for the BZA. So it's a little concerning there, and there was never no sign there that I've seen for this application. Really, the way this lays, and there's a pretty good swamp hole that stands with water just to the south. You'll never farm this, so this is probably the best thing to do is put another house in there, and that way she's close to her family. A good thing, the way the driveway comes out, the site visibility, it is on a very bad curve, is very well coming out of the driveway. I guess the question I have for you, Scott, is why did you want the little neck to the back? Instead of squaring the 2 acres up nice and square, what was the idea of going, I would say, to the west of that little from her
If you look, yeah, go back to that aerial photo if you would for a minute.
The one I just had up?
Yeah. You see the corn crib there, it says barn, but so there's an old corn crib there that's used as part of the farm, and north there's I guess I'll call it a shop building, and then to the west there's a new shop or ag building that's there. So if we would have squared the 2 acres up, we would have had to take those buildings in, and those were her son's buying the farm, so he clearly wants those for use on his property. So honestly, she doesn't even need the 2 acres for what she's doing, but we have to have 2 acres. And that's the minimum.
That's the minimum. That's what I'm getting at. She needed the 2 acres.
Yeah, quite honestly, it'll probably just be, she'll just have a little fence around her garden, and all the rest of that all be fenced, together as family and works and go wherever, so they're not gonna fence the property individually, so she really has no need for the 2 acres for what she's doing, so that's the minimum we have. So in order to meet the setbacks around the buildings, I think we could have run a line down, past the corn crib, but then we'd have been cutting into his use, and if something would ever happen, and she'd lose it, but she won't, because she's paying cash for it, but, that'd be what's there, so.
Because she lives back in the other house down there.
She lives in the main house right now, and then her boy's buying that, and she's coming over here to build it.
And there isn't a second house back there now?
There used to be 2. In fact, where she's building this one, if you remember back years ago, there were 2 houses back there at one point in time.
Okay.
And then they tore that off. I think they built this one here, that's there now, and then tore the old one down eventually.
Just
So, yeah, so there was
like
actually
4 or 5 years ago or something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, probably, about where that garden is, about where she's.
About where the garden, okay.
So at one point, there was actually 3 people using that driveway.
And there's plenty of room to do some kind of a shared driveway easement if something happens in the future to go farther north, or?
Yeah, so the reason we kept 50 feet there was if we ever have to, 50 feet could be a platted road then if we needed to. So when we talked to her about that, and there's no other kids that are gonna be moving back to the farm, so, and Dwayne's got really, really young kids. I think Dwayne, I don't remember what his name, Dwayne's the other one, but, the son that's buying that has really young kids, so it's gonna be 20 years before any of those, or 15, 18 at least, before any of those are old enough where they might even wanna be on the farm, but neither one of them had any desire to do any more divisions to that land, but they could just take that 50 feet and extend it, make a road back there.
Because isn't the rest of the 120 some acres to the north and west?
Yeah,
Because below the blue line,
that's a different.
That's a different.
Yeah, they basically have that quarter section less a corner out of it, and then they got another 40 to the back that's landlocked, that's tied into this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other questions for the board members?
Having heard none, do I hear a motion?
I'll move to make a favorable recommendation. for the commissioners.
Yes, it's just a minor subdivision.
Okay.
Motion to approve subdivision and also finding facts.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve subdivision 1304 and the findings of facts.
Do I have a second? Second. Been moved and seconded to proceed with finding facts.
Yes, minor subdivision findings of fact for Leanna Revocable Living Trust in care of Hand of the Plow tonight. Subdivision numbers 1304. Physical address is 2498 West 1100 North in Rome City, with the subdivision name being Leanna Bontrager Minor Subdivision. The Noble County Plan Commission, having heard the application for the subdivision as described, and all testimonies from parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed subdivision, does now enter the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and Indiana Code. The subdivision of land is consistent with the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Mary Wysong, Ann Klein, Dr. Sarah, Jeff Cunningham, Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Patty Gatman, Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies the development requirements of Article 6. Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Dr. Sarah, Jeff Cunningham, Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Patty Gatman, Ann Klein, Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies the standards of Article 7, the design standards. Tom Griffiths.
Agreed.
Anita Hess is not here. Ann Klein, Jeff Cunningham, Patty Gatman, Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Mary Wysong, Dr. Sarah, Randy Sexton. The subdivision of land satisfies any other applicable provision of the Unified Development Ordinance. Patty Gatman, Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Ann Klein, Dr. Sarah, Mary Wysong, Jeff Cunningham, Glenn Lemon.
Agreed.
The subdivision of land satisfies the construction requirements of any applicable Noble County construction standard. Jeff Cunningham, Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Dr. Sarah, Mary Wysong, Ann Klein, Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Patty Gatman, Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
Based on the findings, the board does approve.
If I stay around for the next
If you want to drive them up really quickly, I gotta have him sign these too.
By the way, I love having a list on what we're going to be doing, but the construction requirements is dropped off.
Okay,
Just so you know,
yeah.
but I do appreciate having this.
Which one is that on?
On both, the last couple that we had, the last couple subdivisions, the subdivision of land satisfies the construction requirements, that checkbox.
So let me double check and make sure that maybe we haven't cross templated, because one of them may have it on there like the major and the minor might not. Okay, we'll check those. We'll get you to sign those while you're signing those. So there you go. Okay, we have an invoice for Newman and Newman. I don't have it on the PowerPoint. If you want to share your bill so the board will pay it.
Gotta postpone that, let's get that later.
Wherever it's in order, please.
Yeah, Everett's wife's on vacation, so he needs the money.
I don't know how much she took, but she spent a lot of time there.
Well, I was thinking you might need some food. She probably.
That was an opportunity to clean out the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea what's on it.
I just.
I know it's small, and I know there are only two things it could involve, because they all have to involve pending litigation. One is we check back with the attorney who's handling the solar litigation.
I see
and
that
every
one.
once in a while I check them because kind of like to see things move along. And then there's the Darla Jordan
And what is that?
lawsuit. It's a junk, trash, and debris.
Kimmel. They had a lot. Now, we were out there not too long ago. I need to send you some pictures. They have done some cleanup.
Yeah,
No,
I was
see
wondering
where
about
you
that.
had one, the Ordinance. No, I was just trying to figure out how I could get $18 for an email.
Well, and that,
I'm farming.
well, actually, that's less than my private clients have to pay. It's billed a tenth of an hour. So that's 6 minutes.
There has been substantial cleanup on that property. It's not
I
done,
was wondering about that because she promised she would, and I knew she'd done some.
but it's been probably 2 weeks since I've been out there. I'll try to get out again. We need a motion.
On the address on 700 West,
Can we talk about that after we get a motion for the bill? It helps with the record.
I'm waiting on addresses. This is part of that.
Yeah.
Start over the address. That'd be cool.
That's right.
How is it?
So as I know, I was just sitting there. But since they're paying the bills, but I do check in every once in a while because an insurance company attorney would have a number of different cases. And so it's always a good idea to remind them, hey, I'm here.
Invoice number 2110 has been way around, everybody's reviewed it. If I do hear any questions or concerns, could I have a motion for approval of payment?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to member reports on the screen, and also a few paper copies have been distributed, are the addresses.
6 new addresses.
Provide information.
2 or 3 deleted. I do know about one of the deletes, Black Bear Real Estate. You'll have a petition from that property next month. They had 2 addresses on site and they haven't been using the second one. It's been one business. So there's a reason for that one, removing that address, which is unnecessary. Do you know about the other 2 deletes?
The delete for Robert Macon, he did a commitment to combine for his adjacent lake residential parcels. And the home at 3698 had been removed, so since that commitment to combine is there, we removed that address, and it will only be the address that's on the other parcel that will be used.
What about Miller?
Miller, so you'll see a change and delete for Miller. He has closed his driveway on 600 West and has requested to be addressed on 900 North because that is the driveway that he will be utilizing moving forward. He actually requested that a couple months ago, but didn't want to change it until after their wedding.
And then Jeff had a question about Trowbridge or Miller.
the
Furman
one on
Miller.
7 or the one on, yeah, on 700 West, is that a new build?
Yes,
And that has already been started?
yes.
It's on the east side of the road?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right between the 2 homes. That
I'm
are-
sorry, what?
It's right between 2 homes that are there. So they just had a minor subdivision approved last month. and they just started construction, I think this week, and already have the fitters poured, so
Okay.
we got that site point yesterday.
Typically, when we have someone in for something like that, they're ready to go, especially this time of year.
Do they actually put their own driveway in, or do they share in one of the driveways that are already there?
That I couldn't.
Yeah, they have to go through a driveway permit through your department.
I'm assuming they have their own driveway.
They cannot get a building permit without having an approved driveway.
I just know it's very rolly right through there.
And so typically what we do with Richard is he'll give a driveway permit for a new construction of a home, but the building permit is not released unless the ILP is done and the driveway is appropriate.
And it has to go through Cerise at some point.
Yeah. So if you're happy with those,
Private Family Farms is the new ag build on the east side of the road.
Yes, it's a chicken.
yeah, and there was no other way, that should have had an address just based on the
And
location.
Lisa's daughter is
A new home.
Cynthia Trowbridge. They've got the foundation and got the house sitting there ready to go on top. That's a little while.
A double one.
We've been watching it as we drive by every day.
Do I have a motion to approve the addresses?
So,
Second, is there a second? Then moving second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll go ahead and report on the plat committee and admin.
Administrative subdivisions, we've had 6 since the last meeting, 4 are pending. Minor subdivision, 4 and 2 pending. Code enforcement report, we've been looking a little bit with Mr. Lees. We've had better communication here recently. I'm hopeful, but I've been hopeful before. He did remove one. He put a sign up that was in the right of way and without a permit. I think Rachel said I think he moved it. So hopefully we'll get him to continue to move forward. The lower left here, Bankster out of Layato. This is a dual violation. We have junk, trash, and debris and a zoning violation here. They were approved for development setbacks of that shed that's in the middle. That I think a tree ended up falling on it, but it was not put in the appropriate location. It was supposed to be a little bit farther deep into the property. So we'll keep an eye on this one. I'm more concerned about the junk, trash, and debris. And the other concern I have with this is the possibility that it's very probable that someone's living in that shed, which is not a livable structure. And the little bit of communication I had there, I think I got my point across. I mean, it's not safe. It wasn't built for that. So that was prior to when I had spoken with her. So when it had first gone in. So we'll hopefully get some response. We'll see how that one goes. The Hershey on the far right, this one's been there for a while. The variance was approved for a time frame that has been expired, but because he's deconstructing this unit and he is moving forward with deconstructing it, we have continued to offer him an extension instead of issuing a fine. It'll be out of there. He's done a fairly reasonable time frame with what he's having to do there. And typically for us, if we see progress, we usually try to extend rather than punish. The next few slides are some potential violations that could be coming your way. We have a shipping container on a parcel that we were at, so we're sending a courtesy letter. We call it a hey letter. Hello. So the kennel, the owner was aware that they were over, so hopefully that will be taken care of in a quickly timed manner, and I won't have to do anything with that. This next slide was brought to my attention, and I need you to all take a step back when you see it. It is how the building permit was presented based upon what we're seeing offers staff and a couple of department members a little bit of, this looks more commercial than residential. So this is it's a barn dominium was the application. It meets the minimum square footage for the residential. It was done under an ag permit, which is a lesser cost. My concern, and I pointed out, is number one, the amount of gravel here. And this might be all residential, just saying. But the amount of gravel here kind of, the appearance wise, looks more commercial. On top of that, you have these 3 large doors. Each of them, including the 4th door, has a service entrance to them. Again, it looks more commercial than residential. Could be wrong, but we will approach that subject with another hey letter to the owner and just say, you know, what's the intention here? And
sorry, what was the name on this place again?
I'm not offering that at this point.
Okay.
It's relevant at this point. I'm just pointing out to you, this is, my intention is just sending a letter saying, can we talk? You know, we're going to start that route. Well, if it comes back to you, you shouldn't have a preconceived. Okay. The other side of zoning is Rachel and I did a final on Camelot Ridge, also known as the Deer Hunting Lodge out in Green Township. Met the new owner, which is Bill Bean. Super nice guy. He took Rachel and I through a little trail ride. We did see a few deer. The fence is still being monitored by DNR. They are still regulating the fence. So those of you that weren't on this application, this went through the BZA, I believe. You can have a hunting preserve, but this was a special hunting preserve where they actually artificially inseminated deer for a more aggressive antler rack on the deer, more specified for that. So I've met some of the baby deer. They were happy to come and get pet when they were little. But they have he has a nice, it is deafening quiet here. Bill even let us into the lodge. He's not at this point using the lodge anything more than family. He's only been there a few times since he's owned it for about a year. So I'm not uncomfortable with what's going on here. I am going to request, with your permission, is that he send us the fence logs annually, just so we know that that fence is continuing to be maintained. There is definitely at least 1 deer still on site, and I'm sure fall's coming, he might be out there having fun. So we want to kind of monitor that for just a little while longer, just to know that the animals are still not getting out into other counties. This is the shooting range on site. He still has maintenance on this property. He has someone that comes in and takes care of the lodge. They're still cleaning it like someone's living there. I don't know how often, but
Are they still doing active breeding then?
they are not intentionally breeding. There is a deer that's out there that he knows of. He's seen at least one with a tag on it.
Oh, I know there are.
And so that one's having fun probably, but I don't think there's any intentional breeding happening at this time. The animals were gone. The pens were empty.
Yeah. Some got out.
The vet clinic was there. It was very obvious that there were no animals in that clinic. The grass was all dried out, and then they had like a junior area. So when they were babies, they were in the vet clinic, and then they would go into this junior and then a senior area, and then they got let loose. Those areas were still fenced in. They still had all this stuff there, but there was no animals.
Question. When we granted that variance, we was concerned with the fence only in its locations, as far as setbacks and where they were, and we didn't necessarily have a requirement on how high they were. That was up to him, so his deer didn't get escaped.
He needed to have that for the type of deer that they have, because they don't want those deer breeding with whitetail or natural deer to this area. So they had to have that taller fence. That fence is intentional based upon what they were doing there.
The DNR probably monitors that, right?
They do.
The DNR monitors it. Do we need to?
That's what my next question.
I just don't want to make you guys, I don't want to do extra work.
I don't know that it's going to be extra work. I think the only thing I'm going to request is that if he would just send me a copy of the fence log, so that we still know that it's there until we know all of those morphed deers are no longer there. That would be my only concern, because you don't want those. We don't want to start a new breed of deer in Noble County.
The neighbors might.
But I think that could. And that's what I said. I said, if I'm not mistaken, that one deer that's there is probably worth quite a bit of money.
There's more.
Yeah. Okay. Are they still in the fence?
Oh,
There is
they
one.
maintain that fence pretty well.
Yeah, they have.
From what I can see from our side.
Ours.
Yeah.
It's for them. I mean,
The other, there is another property that is directly south of here that was attached to this application that's now under a new owner. So I'll need to contact him and we'll go through.
It's not fenced.
Correct, but we'll close out the special exception by taking a site visit and close it out because they have cabins on that one. And one of the cabins I don't think had a permit, so we'll have that conversation. It's just all about making sure that they're clear on what we know. Yeah. So I do have one other item that was brought to my attention a couple weeks ago through the United Postal Service. They were requesting that we give an apartment an address on a property that already has 2 residential homes on it. So with your blessing, I'm going to say I'd like to send another hey letter to someone and figure out what's going on there. And I don't have.
You were aware of this before?
No. We were aware that there were 2 homes, and I think at one point they had a variance for a 3rd home. But whoever's renting or living there has contacted the post office to verify if the address apartment 1 was an appropriate address for them to send mail to. So that branch of the Postal Service is aware that you are the approving body of addresses and they won't do anything now without us. So that went through to a couple offices with that final email. Yeah.
Just tell them they won't be needing the address.
Well, I think my notice to her said at this point it could potentially put the property owner in a zoning violation, so maybe have them contact us.
Anything else within the report?
No, well, we do have another parcel that has a few zoning violations on it. I've been working with Randy on it. I have some letters I want you to kind of proofread before anything goes out. If something comes of it, I'll let you know by next meeting. But we have one that had 4 violations. So, and I appreciated you going with me. I will let you know that every once in a while, if I'm uncomfortable with a situation, Randy's been available to go. Sometimes it helps to have a mail with the communication. In this particular situation, your communication, I think, was much more heard than mine. So I did appreciate it.
Okay, member reports. Mary, council, anything?
Just finishing up budget stuff. Couple things. As far as that goes.
Okay. Do not have anything, I believe, from the commissioners. We need not present.
Anita had a surgery today. I'll apologize for not letting you know that earlier.
Anything from the attorney?
Nothing about what I already said about pending litigation. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to. I think on that sign thing, we should make them take a picture and send it in, showing that it was posted.
I can change the rules again.
Well, at the very least, you can say you guys show that notice was given, and when you do your staff report, and you want something in your file that shows that notice was given.
So let me.
Because we can do like other plan commissions do, which is require proof of notice before you proceed. It's happening too much. And I'm not saying these last 2 were indicative of anything wrong with those 2 projects.
It does happen a
But
lot.
it's happened again and again and over the last month and a half.
Yeah.
And
we keep them in the car.
and
But
we've had it happen before. I represented somebody who didn't manage to get the signs up. Well, because of the way we do things of just notifying people in the immediate area, you know, I'm not sure that's adequate notice to not have the sign and the mailings.
Ever with somebody that was against the ruling, mail these out, they just go back to it?
Well, they can. It's
I
hard.
would think so.
I mean, the way the rules are is yes, you have to give adequate notice. It has to be such that it's reasonably certain that notice was generally in the neighborhood, so that you know how news gets around. If you miss one person, that's no big deal. But if it's such that the notice isn't reasonably calculated to give notice, that's where you run into a problem. The other thing is there's an exception that says basically if the plan commission substantially complies with what the statutes require, that's good enough. But you want to be in a position of defending yourself, so we win. If we, because every once in a while you lose,
Well, I mean, we publicly admitted that it wasn't posted right.
Yeah.
So to me, that just admitted that you just opened yourself up. I didn't say anything, but it looked like.
Well, we were aware of that. But there was another proceeding went out with the BCA. I think it's reasonably calculated to give notice to the other parties, and but it could be nobody remonstrated because nobody knew, and that's why I think I'm not going to worry about the ones we've already done, but the future ones we have to be making a little bit more of an effort to make sure that's getting done.
Yeah, because in our rules it says they shall post a notice. No later than 10 days prior.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, generally speaking, I think you got the feeling on subdivisions, you don't have a lot of leeway. If you meet all the requirements, regardless of what you think of the subdivision, it's going to get approved. However, you got this thing that says subdivision of land satisfies all other applicable provisions of the Unified Development Ordinance. That means that you find anything anywhere in the ordinance that it doesn't comply with, you're dead. Your project's, unless somebody decides to waive it, it's gone. So you have a remonstrator and say, well, I didn't see the sign up, and here in your ordinance it says any other applicable provisions. That would be an applicable provision, wouldn't it be? Oh, dead subdivision. So it's important for both sides of these things that we have compliance with them. Because I just soon have a judge on merits, not on technicalities. Unless I'm representing somebody, technicalities will do fine. But
So in this case, based on how it's written, it says they have to do it. Can we ask for, do we need to amend this at all, or can we just say, hey, can you just prove it you did that?
well, I actually think
We could just do it at the front desk.
right at the moment, because we don't have anything at the
Okay.
moment. That we do.
Like you noticed,
Well,
I mean, they used to make it. I mean, they used to make us. It used to be the attorneys sent out the cards, so that, and we used to have to bring in a card for every property. That like 200 cards in Ligonier once. Showing that we had reasonable notice of a hearing. Those have loosened up, but you don't want to get to the point where there's really not any notice given. I mean, those pink signs really stand out. I hate them.
I know, but you can see them in all seasons.
And I've seen them all the time. And I know there've been notices up in my neighborhood before, but I mean, they just leap out at you. And so they serve a purpose in that we don't have to have something saying everything within 500 feet of a residential house will get a notice, or way some other ordinances are written up. Anyway, that was my reaction. My reaction was wasn't that the last one where we didn't have a sign was a problem. The problem is we now had a string of signs that either been late or we've posted. That's not. It's getting to the point where if this continues, it's going to be non-compliant. So let's not let it continue.
For now, we'll have them at the counter. We'll tell them they have to send proof in. They can send a text picture to the email.
Do you have a question?
No, I just,
Or a comment?
no, I have a comment. Tracy and I have been talking, and I'll get to it. Yes, I've been watching Plan Commission meetings from opposing counties around. Yes, I do have a life, but they do have things of interest that I'm interested in, and for the most part, we do a very good job. Recusing yourself, conflict of interest. One of them was a hog barn. One guy said, I raise hogs, and he left, and another guy says, I know a guy that raises hogs, and he left. Not managing remonstrators, people outbreaks, and they're not controlled. Not following the ordinance. One of them was a home-based business And the guy lived 15 miles away from his home-based business and it was approved. It drives me nuts.
We've seen it.
But I'm always looking for improvements, and one of those improvements is, and we've started doing the BZA as a pledge before the meeting. The other thing is, and it's not such an issue with the Plan Commission as it is with the BZA, and that is, I want to think that most people are good at heart. And they're not, but without anything in place, I do think these good people do tell white lies or fibs in order to get their zonings passed. I noticed a lot of places have you take an oath. Now, is that going to stop some people? No. But those people that I think inherently are good, once they take an oath, they might think twice before they would lie to us on the BZA. Just something I want you guys to think
How
about.
how many counties around us do the pledge and the oath? I'm just
I
curious.
know Whitley and Fulton and Marshall County do.
Oh,
Again, we can
I got-
amend our
Yeah,
rules.
I've seen boards do it.
Again, it's not going to stop somebody.
Well, we have our procedure in our rules.
Especially, BCA, you wouldn't do necessarily with the Plan Commission, but BZA in particular is a quasi-judicial proceeding. So having somebody do the oath would be typical.
And they do it as a group. Anybody who plans to speak or has a petition, you do it as a group. It's the one time you get it over with. You know, I know an individual who wouldn't probably want to ever lie to you guys, but probably would. But if she had to take an oath, she would leave the meeting. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say, and she. So I want to think there's a lot of people out there like that. Anyway. Okay.
Are there any other comments or?
I have one other one. So the building that's now in question, that had to get approved by the building department.
So they have to go with what someone tells them at the front counter. This is,
So that building, they would have seen that blueprint, that wouldn't have thrown any red flags to them, that this isn't a typical pole barn
well, I
house.
mean, they have other ag barns in that general area that one of the inspectors said is fairly big and has large doors like that. And I pointed out to the inspector, I said, what's throwing me off is the amount of gravel here and that each barn door has its own service door. Again, to me, it looks commercial, and he agreed, but there has to be some integrity when someone tells us something at the counter. And like I said, I'm probably completely wrong here, and I'm going to stay wrong until I know different.
Okay, but I'm just gonna throw this out here, maybe I shouldn't. The barn that we denied the addition on, that's making the poly furniture, that all started as a pole barn for farm. And when it was built, it did not look nothing like a pole barn for ag because it has loading docks on the window.
Right.
So now here we're going down this same road that where they're gonna live, the living space is gonna be an office with another home-based business on the
There
back
is
end of it.
there is a full bath in there, and there is 2 floors of living space, so it does have the qualifications. It is meeting those minimum standards, but at this point, it just looks more commercial and residential. So if that's the case, and we find
like a
out
fire
differently
station.
than what it actually, I mean, maybe they just like gravel and don't want to cut grass. I don't know.
The building inspector was told that it's a monument.
Yeah.
They have to leave that.
Right.
Teresa,
If later it isn't, it's actually a shame on them, because now they have to go back through a state release, and modifications may have to be made to whatever in order to meet the requirements of the state building.
I mean,
So being untruthful with us in the beginning and with the office upstairs is not beneficial to the landlord.
no,
And I think as time goes on, they're gonna understand, this is gonna bite me if I try to go down this road, because we have people that are going down that road.
And this guy's going down that road.
and the thing is I don't think they understand that they look at their idea, well, if they catch me, I'll just get a modification and it's gonna get approved. The penalties are not the fines and stuff. There was a house in one of the lakes in Steuben County, they built it the way they wanted to build it, and they made them take the house down. I mean, it's that simple.
It was pretty expensive.
We have a large
If there
problem
are
that could
cases
have
where
the
people
same
have put a house on the
repercussion.
wrong lot, they made them take the house down.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't happen very often, but that is quite a risk that you're taking when you just ignore a zoning law.
I think it's
funny
going
to
to
say,
come back
my-
and burn somebody
Well, that's,
sooner than later.
I had a real estate client that looked just like that, and that was their house. He was
Yeah.
just a hobbyist. He had a camper, a boat.
And that's-
Could be.
They could put 12 cars in the garage part, but they were just huge hobbyists.
And that's all I'm asking that question.
So
Yep.
I'm just trying to stop things before it gets rolling 5 years from now, when they're in here asking for forgiveness, and they wanna build a second building just like that because their
This one is
business.
not
and they
gonna be
bring
a
30
bargain.
people. We sit at the
We deal with a
tables
lot
with
of
it,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So we see it all the time.
I will tell you another side conversation I had. Lee Pranger and I, Town of Rome City, her jurisdiction and our jurisdiction butt up, and on one particular property, she's getting ready to adjust it, and we have jurisdiction over half that property. So we're working really well together. I've talked with Randy with our solution, and I think you agreed with the solution of is we're going to allow Rome City to basically manage the application. They're going to manage the amendments through their ordinance. We'll just have copies, but Randy and I will both also sign off on it and note that it met some of our minimum qualifications and standards, and your stormwater will be met for that reason as well. So it was a great relationship. The surveyor and I worked really well together. They're going to work with the signature blocks because they're going to have more than normal, but it was just an easy process with the surveyor. It was really kind of nice.
I have one other thing that I won't say more tonight.
Well, it's
Where
6
do we
minutes, you have to
stop on 900 North?
Oh, you're
And
gonna
where
ask
does
me a
Ligonier
question.
take over? Is it at 700 West?
I believe so.
So the small
East.
junkyard that started on 900 North is Ligonier's problem?
He probably.
Most likely.
There's like 30 cars there? Okay. He's adding probably one a month, if I was guessing.
On
If not
900,
two.
right, Perry Road.
I'm sorry.
Perry Road.
Perry Road.
Yeah, it'd be Prairie Road.
That's the
Well, it
not
would
the
be
boat
East
guy,
Prairie
the other
Road.
guy with the
The one that Earl was supposed to take over.
Yes, that's
So we
the-
had that as a 2-mile jurisdictional violation in our office. The property owner actually showed up in a BZA meeting, and we ended up turning it over to Ligonier and having them implement it as a zoning violation. Because they're going to be better effective in that than we are, because we could only look at it as a junk, trash, and debris in their jurisdiction. They are running a mechanic shop and didn't care with any of our notices that we sent. Nothing slowed down. So hopefully Ligonier will get on it. We did hear rumor that he's retiring at the end of the year. They're built, not Earl, Elroy, the building inspector. If that's true, it was rumored. Is that right? You would know.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Well, I
It's
shouldn't have said something.
Yeah.
You had heard it too. Okay. Yeah, not same thing.
Future agenda items.
We do have a rezoning coming up next meeting. Is that it? It's in a good location in my opinion, so I'll say no more.
Anything else? Haven't heard none. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? So moved. Is there a second? Thank you for everybody for coming. And I did not look it up ahead of time, but I need to look it up. I believe our next meeting was on the 15th.
I think you're right.
So mark that on the calendar. Have a safe trip home. All right.